皆さんこんにちは、みみるです。Today, we're diving into a really bold world-first experiment happening down under. Australia has just rolled out a law that's sparking a massive global conversation about kids, their safety, and the internet. So, let's jump right in.
So here's the big question. Should kids under 16 be totally banned from social media? I mean, this is something parents and politicians have debated for years, right? Well, it's not just a debate anymore. As of December 10, 2025, Australia has actually made it a reality. They're the first country in the world to enforce a ban like this. So what does this really mean for everyone involved? The kids, the parents, and of course, the tech giants.
Okay, so let's get into the details of this world-first ban. And when we say strict, we mean it. We're talking about the toughest law of its kind on the entire planet. This isn't some friendly suggestion or a guideline. No. This is a legally binding mandate, and it comes with some pretty serious consequences for the biggest names in tech.
So here's the heart of the law. Platforms like Meta, TikTok, YouTube, you name it, they now have to actively stop anyone under 16 from even having an account. But here's the real kicker, the part that's a total game changer. There are zero exceptions for parental consent. So a parent in Australia can't just say, "Oh, it's okay, I give my 15-year-old permission." Nope, it's a hard line in the sand, and that's what makes this law so incredibly unique.
And to make sure these companies comply? Well, there's a pretty hefty penalty attached. We're talking a maximum fine of nearly 50 million Australian dollars for any platform that breaks the rules. But you know what's really crucial here? The government is putting all the responsibility squarely on the platforms. Parents and kids, they face zero penalties. The message couldn't be clear. It is on the tech companies to enforce this.
So why? Why take such a drastic step? What is the argument for a complete ban anyway? Let's try to get into the mindset of the lawmakers and the supporters who genuinely believe this was an absolutely critical move to protect an entire generation of kids.
This quote from Prime Minister Anthony Albanese really sums up the government's thinking. They don't just see this as another policy. For them, it's a historic stand. It's a moment where a country literally draws a line in the sand and declares that the potential harm to children is just too great, and it outweighs any benefits of letting them have unrestricted access.
And these are the specific harms they are trying to fight. You see, supporters argue that social media algorithms, the very things that make these apps so addictive, were just never designed with a child's well-being in mind. So these goals, cutting down on cyberbullying, shielding kids from harmful content, fighting exploitation, and boosting youth mental health, these really hit home for a lot of parents and health advocates who've been sounding the alarm on this for years.
And you know, it's not just the adults who feel this way. This quote from Florence, who's only 12 years old, is just incredibly powerful. She's saying that at a time when her brain is developing the most, social media is literally engineered to exploit that process, not to help it. So for her, and for other young people who support this, the ban is all about getting the chance to grow up in a healthier, safer, and kinder world. But, of course, there's another side to this story. Let's flip the coin, because this policy is definitely not getting a round of applause from everyone. A lot of people, we're talking experts, parents, and even teenagers themselves, are raising some really serious questions about whether a total ban is the right way to go.
Brianna's story here really cuts to the heart of the criticism. For so many young people, especially kids in rural areas or those in marginalized groups like the LGBTQ+ community, social media isn't just some fun distraction. It's a lifeline. It's how they talk to their friends. It's how they find their community. It's absolutely vital.
And that right there brings us to the fundamental conflict at the center of this whole debate. It's a real tug-of-war. On one side, you have this very noble goal of protecting kids from some very real online dangers. But on the other side, there's this deep fear of actually isolating them, of cutting off the digital threads that have become so central to modern friendship.
Critics are also pointing out some huge practical problems. Like, can you even enforce this thing? A lot of people are saying teens will just lie about their age or use a VPN to get around it. And could it actually backfire? Could it push kids into darker, less regulated corners of the internet? The argument is that this ban is just a blunt instrument, and that maybe education and better moderation would be a much smarter way to handle it.
And it probably won't surprise you to hear that the tech companies themselves are pushing back against the ban. They see it as government overreach. Their solution? They say we should empower parents with better, more sophisticated control tools and let each family decide what's right for them, instead of having a one-size-fits-all government rule. Now, make no mistake about it, this is so much bigger than just Australia. What happens here is going to set a precedent for the entire world. Right now, policymakers, parents, and tech execs from every continent are watching this experiment unfold very, very closely.
And yeah, these are just a few of the countries that are officially keeping an eye on Australia's law as a kind of test case. Whether this ban works or fails, how it impacts mental health, if it can even be enforced, its social fallout, all of that will almost certainly shape how countries all over the world handle this issue for years to come.
This quote from Australia's e-safety commissioner really shows you how ambitious they're being. I mean, listen to those comparisons. Tobacco packaging, gun reform. They see this ban as being in the same league as those other huge public health initiatives, where Australia led the way. Their goal is nothing short of setting a new global standard for keeping kids safe online.
You know, the government is also being realistic here. They're playing the long game. They've admitted that they know the law won't be perfect on day one, and that kids are going to try to get around it. But for them, just forcing this conversation out into the open and making tech companies finally take real action, that in itself is a kind of victory. They're ready to learn and tweak the policy as they go.
So, at the end of the day, we're left with this huge question. Is Australia paving the way for a safer digital future for kids everywhere? Or is this a well-meaning idea that's just a step too far, something that could end up doing more harm than good? As the entire world watches, that answer has yet to be written. What do you think? このチャンネルが興味深いと思った方は、チャンネル登録といいねボタンをよろしく。